Today on the RepubliKen Talk Show, we're going to be talking about the Oregon exposure video, Brandon Herrera's election results, Trump's new tax plan, and Hillary Clinton's sad D-Day post. More of this in this episode. Welcome to the RepubliKen Talk Show, everybody. I'm your host, Kenneth Glenn, and today we got some news for you today. So, Oregon exposure video. So, on June 4th of this year, Libs of TikTok posted a video that went viral. A man by the name of Thomas Collins, who went viral last year from an inflation video, has gone viral once again. He witnessed a man naked in his yard in front of his son, and he called the police about it, and we will play the clip for you now.
You're saying in the state of Oregon, someone can walk up to your 2-year-old kid completely bare naked, and that's not a crime? Even if it's on your property?
Correct. Well, so it's trespassing, but what I'm saying is there's no laws against the actual nudity portion of it.
So you can expose yourself to children in Oregon?
Again, if you're not doing it for sexual gratification or the gratification of somebody else, yes, you are allowed to walk around in public naked.
On private property, this is where I live, and someone just came and exposed themselves to my 2-year-old boy, and this officer's saying that it's not a crime. So a naked person came up onto my property here, approached my 2-year-old kid, completely naked, which I ran over to him and covered his eyes so he wouldn't see. My obvious thought is to call 911 as someone's indecently exposing themselves to my child on my property. At what point did this become a normal and acceptable thing to do? The cops will literally do nothing about it. They're basically saying we have to wait for that person to do something more serious to your kid before we can intervene.
So basically, the cop didn't do anything about it. Basically, the cop found out that this was... He got all the information of what happened, and the cop's like, hey, guess what? That's not illegal. We're not going to do anything about it. And I just think the law is super dumb. Now, here's the Daily Mail's article on this situation. So this comes from the Daily Mail. An Oregon man raged at the police officer during a disagreement over the state laws permitting public nudity in front of children. As all people should be. Hello? I don't even think parents should be able to be naked in front of their kids after a certain age. I think that's just kind of weird. I don't know about you. I just think that's weird. Nonetheless, a stranger is nude in front of your kid. Like, come on, dude. So Thomas Collins, a father from Bend, Oregon. I guess that's a town. I guess it's just called Bend. Like, Bend. So he filmed a heated confrontation after a naked stranger allegedly walked onto his property in front of his 2-year-old son. The video, which racked up more than 800,000 views since it was posted on June 4th, begins in the middle of Collins' conversation with Officer Jeremy Avery of the Bend Police Department. Quote, you are saying in the state of Oregon someone can walk up to your 2-year-old son completely naked and it's not a crime, even if it's on your own property, Collins demanded. Correct. Well, so it's trespassing, but what I'm saying is that there's no law against the actual nudity portion of it. So this is that's what the police officer said. There's no law against nudity in at least this city. So a lot of people are misunderstanding the law in Oregon. So part of the law so let's say it's Portland, Oregon, you're allowed to be naked there. For some reason, you're allowed to be naked there. Or no, you're not allowed to be naked in Portland. There's a strict law against that, except for like one day a year, but we'll get to that later. Whereas in the rest of the state, I guess it's allowed, which just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Avery responds, as Collins continues to press him, Avery clarifies that people can walk around in public naked on private property as long as they aren't doing it for sexual gratification. Now, isn't this a stupid loophole? Like, how am I supposed to prove whether or not somebody is doing something for sexual gratification? And then where does the sexual gratification stop? If a woman is in a bikini and she's doing that for sexual gratification, is that more illegal than me being naked if I'm not doing it for sexual gratification but she is? Does that make hers illegal and mine not? If she's naked and I'm naked and I'm doing it for sexual gratification and she's not, the law doesn't make sense. The law should not be subjective. It should be objective. Law should be clear, cut, and dry. If you did this thing, you go to jail. Boom. That's how the court system should be ran, but it's not. Our laws are excruciatingly vague. Our laws are stupid. We have a terrible justice system, and that's why we need lawyers. Unless we overhaul the justice system entirely, our justice system is going to continue to suck. And we're going to continue to have stupid laws like this one here, and the one that we talked about 2 days ago or a few days ago on the show, where sexual abusers are allowed to sexually abuse people as long as they're within 10 years of the age of the person they abused. Anyway, public nudity is broadly legal under Oregon law, but different cities and counties may have their own regulations. In Portland, for example, Title 14 of the city code makes it illegal for any person to expose his or her genitalia while in a public place. This is what I was talking about earlier. If the place is open or available to a person of the opposite sex. So, basically, it's talking about, like, obviously bathrooms, men's locker rooms, maybe the sauna, I'd imagine. I think. I've never been in a sauna. I don't know much about saunas. But yeah, that's what that's talking about. You can't be naked in public unless it's a private area, obviously. Like a bathroom, basically. However, the conversation doesn't stop there, as the city hosts an annual nude bike ride that is legally permissible. Nudity is a form of protest in regard under state law, and organizers insist they are striving to draw attention to the issue of bike safety and pollution. Ah, yes, pollution. So, basically, it's like the purge. At least that's what I understand this as. It's essentially the purge. Because you get one day a year where it's legal to be naked all you want as long as you're riding on a bike. Hopefully your bikes have seats. And seat covers. Ugh. To be held in violation of Oregon's state law, a person must engage in sexual intercourse, masturbation, or expose their genitalia with intent of arousing and sexual desire of a person or another person. So, this is the other part where the law gets kind of weird. Because, like I mentioned before, if she's naked and she's not sexually aroused or anything like that, she's just being naked for freedom, but I do become sexually aroused, does that make her now a criminal? Because technically that's a violation of the law, because she's naked and she's making me sexually aroused. So how does that work? How does that make a lot of sense? It doesn't. This is a dumb law. And like I said before, why is the law so vague? Why does the law have to be so vague? This makes zero sense at all. how do you prove intent? How do you prove whether or not someone intentionally did something? Especially with something like this. It's just weird. Some viewers pointed out that the cop, like Avery, Some viewers pointed out that cops like Avery simply enforce the law as it is written. This is a quote, brother called him worthless, but the dude can't just falsely arrest somebody. Which is a stupid opinion to have, because just because something is a law does not make something justified. For example, slavery used to be legal. Racial segregation used to be legal. Beating your kid half to death with a garden hose used to be legal. Many things that are bad things used to be legal at one point. Selling cigarettes to children used to be legal. I could keep going on of all these stupid laws of that used to be legal. And if you think like this, then you are justifying all of these different things. That's another abortion argument I use. One of the abortion arguments is it's okay because it's legal. It's like, okay, slavery was legal. So according to people like this, anything that is legal is okay. Is basically what they believe. Another user remarked, others encouraged... Okay, that's the other quote. Other users encouraged Collins to read up on local laws and lobby lawmakers to make a change, which should happen. That's the real solution. The real solution is to change the law and fix it. Now, moving on to something completely different. Brandon Herrera's election results. When Brandon Herrera first initially announced that he was running for president, when he was running for Congress, dude, it was a crazy time. And the crowd went wild, dude. It was like Backlash 2000 when Stone Cold returned. And like the crowd just erupts. The arena just explodes like the sudden death movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And if you like 80s action movies and Republican politics, you should probably hit that subscribe button. That's what we're about here. Anyway, his political opponent would be none other than Tony Gonzalez, who is a Rhino Republican and who has voted for radical gun legislation, which the gun legislation was in result of a school shooting, which if you support gun control because of a school shooting and if you think that gun control will prevent a school shooting, that is idiotic. That is not a smart mindset to have. And I think that you should just research and study it. Maybe even watch my video that I made debunking that myth. It's on my channel. It's called Why an Assault Weapon Ban Won't Prevent a School Shooting. But anyway, the election process is now over. Tony won the election with a little over 300 votes or so. There were no debates between the two, which I personally think should be required. I think there should be 2 debates throughout the election process, which there's one debate with all of the potential candidates and then a second debate with only the 2 winning candidates. I think that's the only real way to do it fairly. But they never did that. However, they did have some beef online. They were going back and forth. Despite the lack of debates, they were throwing punches back and forth. Tony Gonzalez posted on Twitter one day that he had no days off. And then Brandon Herrera wrote back saying, don't worry, you'll have plenty of days off when I'm done with you or whatever. Just like funny things like that, which is pretty funny, I gotta admit. I like that. However, what I don't like is that Tony Gonzalez posted many smear campaigns, basically smearing Brandon Herrera for many videos that he made, basically alluding to the fact that he's a Nazi, even though he's not. He just likes guns. Tony Gonzalez alluded to Brandon Herrera being a Nazi because he used Nazi-esque weapons or Nazi weapons from World War II in his videos. He made videos about Nazi weapons and that he owns Nazi weapons. Which, so what? Why is that a big deal? It's an inanimate object. He also critiqued Brandon Herrera for making assassination videos. Like, he was breaking down the assassinations of presidents and other political figures, which I also don't understand the problem with that. What is the problem with that? Doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't see the issue with that. And it's just super immature on Tony's part. It's just super immature on Tony's part. Now, Brandon Herrera wants a recount. He wants the votes to be recounted for the election. Brandon stated in a interview, he stated, "I don't expect the results to change, but I feel I owe it to my volunteers and the supporters to leave no stone unturned," which is a wise thing to do for elections. Because recounts, the more you do something, the more accurate of a number you get. Also, Brandon Herrera pledged that he would pay the remainder, so he wants to do this out of pocket. He has a couple people who are willing to help him out with the cost, but he's going to cover a majority of it, or what's not covered, he's going to cover himself. Which I really like. I like that. According to unofficial election results, Gonzalez carried Bexar County with 7,917 votes. Brandon Herrera's 6,800 votes. Herrera carried Medina County with 2,215 votes. Gonzalez's 2,138 votes. Gonzalez carried Uvalde. Not sure how to say that, actually. So that county with 1,312 votes, with Herrera having 1,052 votes. Herrera carried El Paso County with 382 votes to Gonzalez's 266 votes. So it was a very close election. Herrera only lost by like 300 to 400 votes. It was a very close election. For somebody who's been in politics as long as he has, like Tony Gonzalez, typically the sitting guy usually wins it. If you've been in it, when it comes to Congress at least. So it's very impressive that Brandon Herrera was able to do this much. He was able to get that much support, which is very impressive, in my opinion. And I really hope that Brandon Herrera stays involved with the Republican Party, because I know for sure he has a lot of potential with that. Potentially a governor spot, maybe another Congress position. Maybe he runs for Congress again. I don't know. Like, he has a lot of options that he has. All right, now moving on. Trump's tax. I talked about this in my intro. You will be very surprised with what this is about. So, Trump, with no teleprompter, this is from USA Today, Trump with no teleprompter, Trump riffs with crowd at Las Vegas rally and vows to end taxes on tips. Former President Donald Trump made stamina a theme of his rally on Sunday in 104-degree heat at Las Vegas Park. So this was yesterday. About 6,900 people attended, according to the crowd estimate as Las Vegas Metro Police. 6 people were transported to the hospital for heat-related illness. And an LVMPD spokesperson said, speaking 2 days before the Nevada primary, Trump did not endorse anyone in the U.S. Senate Republican race, where Army veteran Sam Brown and Trump's former ambassador of Iceland to Iceland, Jeff Gunter, had hoped to get a nod. Now, Trump is really showing his longevity in these speeches. It is super impressive what Trump is able to do with these speeches. It is very impressive. Trump's ability to just go like the Energizer Bunny, just produce these long speeches, and this is without a teleprompter, by the way. He's clearly leagues above Joe Biden when it comes to mental fortitude, and there's a lot of people saying that Trump is no better than Biden when it comes to mental fortitude, that they're both cognitively the same, which is just a ridiculous claim to make. Trump is clearly way better. I would argue Trump's better than some of the younger guys. I don't even see DeSantis doing anything like this. I don't see RFK doing anything like this, to be honest with you. Trump is just that guy. Trump is just unbelievably just tough. He's a tough guy. The Tate brothers kept calling him a tough guy in their podcast. And that's not a joke, dude. Trump's a tough guy. He is one of the toughest presidents I have ever witnessed. Trump unveiled a new proposal. He said he'd never mentioned publicly before that would be among his priorities. So this is one of his highest priorities as a campaign promise. Ending taxes on tips, a likely winner in Vegas, whose casino and entertainment economy depends on tips. Okay, so last election in 2020, he lost. He lost the election in Nevada in 2020, but it is most likely not only because of Biden's terrible performance, but it's just very likely that he's going to win based on this campaign promise. The pledge on tips adds more detail to Trump's tax plan that has included vague pledges of tax relief to middle-income workers and small businesses. There's another great thing that we all need for the economy. This is just going to be better for the economy all around, in my personal opinion. This is also the first time I've said this, and for those hotel workers and people that get tips, you are going to be very happy because when I get in office, we are going to not charge taxes on tips people are making. So that's what Trump said. As Trump told the crowd, several thousand people, Trump said he would do that right away. First thing in office. He wants to lower taxes. So that's going to get a lot of people. Because there's a lot of people who work for tips. There's a lot of people who share tips. And this is just going to lower the amount of taxed income on the dollar. So if you think about it, the company makes money, the company that pays you makes money, and they're taxed. And they're paying you with the money that's taxed. And on that, they're also being taxed. You're also being taxed on that. And then you go to your Chipotle, and then you get your burrito and you give them a tip, and they're also being taxed on that. this is going to help that a lot, which is really cool. I really like this proposal. I believe, I'm not sure how true this is, but Trump also said at one point he wanted to abolish taxes altogether, which is great, which would be cool. But I'm not sure how he could do it. I know Trump could do it. I just don't know how exactly. Trump noted in prepared remarks that he would seek legislation in Congress to make the change. You do a great job of service. You take care of people, and I think it is going to be something that is really deserved. End quote. He has previously pledged to make permanent the Republican passed individual tax cuts that he signed into law in 2017, but which expire at the end of 2025. Tax experts estimate that doing so would raise the U.S. deficit by some $4 trillion over a decade compared to the current forecast. As if Trump didn't lower our national debt by like half his first month in office. People love to just trash on Trump, I swear. So, moving on to the last thing of the day, Hillary Clinton D-Day Twitter post. So, this comes from Fox. Hillary Clinton commemorates D-Day with posts suggesting Trump is comparable to Hitler. Big surprise there. She always compares Trump to Hitler. It's not a big surprise. Not like some big saw twist that Hillary has this kind of opinion. This is just normal Hillary Clinton just being Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton marked the 80th anniversary of D-Day operation with a social media post that appeared to cast former President Trump as a threat to democracy on par with the Nazi dictator Adolf Hitler. Everybody that opposes the left is Hitler. Everybody. So much so that every single person, all people would be considered Hitler according to these guys, except for Adolf Hitler himself. Because believe it or not, authoritarianism is actually a left-wing idea. Hitler had a lot of left-wing ideas, more so than you think. In a X post on Thursday, or Twitter and X, same thing, Clinton implied that democracy is at stake in the upcoming presidential election. Democracy's at stake? No way! It's not like they say this every 4 years. Democracy's at stake every single election. Come on now. You say it every time. It loses its meaning every time you say it. With presumptive Republican nominee, former President Trump challenging incompetent President Biden as a Democrat. Hold on. With presumptive Republican nominee, former President Trump challenging incompetent President Biden, a Democrat. Anytime someone on the left doesn't like anytime the left doesn't like runs for office, it's a threat to democracy. Every single time, no matter who it is. It could just be a good, well-meaning Republican who thinks that abortion isn't good. And he's automatically a threat to democracy. Everything he believes in is a radical idea. And how do I know this? Because Trump wanted to build a wall to stop the illegal immigration. Something that, when Obama was in office, was a popular opinion to have, by the way. everyone wanted to take away illegal immigration. They didn't want illegal immigration in their country when Obama was in office, but when Trump did it, and when Trump was in office, everyone hated it all of a sudden. 80 years ago today, thousands of brave Americans fought to protect democracy on the shores of Normandy. Clinton wrote on a Twitter post on Thursday. This November, we will all have to do this. This November, all we have to do is vote. So she is making this big deal out of this election, and she's comparing this election to the Operation Overlord. And as a politician, I feel like that's a very weak message to send for D-Day. Like, out of all the things you could have said on D-Day, you could have remembered all of the people who've died. You could have visited the thousands and thousands of graves of these great men and women who have, let's be real, men who died on that day. I'm not saying that women didn't die. I'm just saying it's mostly men who die on that day. And she plays it off like it's a minor inconvenience. This is the 80th year anniversary of this historic achievement, really, of this immense act of bravery. And she just treats it like it's a minor inconvenience. Just like she's acting like the hardest thing that people did on D-Day was like get bit by mosquitoes and like the heat from the beach or whatever, and you know, like a couple guys got grantham, like their thumb got jammed in the gun. Like, that's how she's treating this. She's treating this like it's not a big deal. And I don't get it. I don't get it. She's like, she treats D-Day like it was like some minor inconvenience. Where in reality, thousands of people ranging from the ages of 18 to 56 years old fought and died on these beaches. Thousands. Not just Americans. People all together. British people. And many other allied forces. Thousands of people died fighting on these beaches. And, you know, there are men on these boats who pulled the lever knowing as soon as they pulled the lever, they'd be shot to death. And they did it anyways, because that's just the manly thing to do. They knew that they were doing it for the right reason, so they did it anyway. They risked their own lives to do this great act, knowing that if this act gets committed, that democracy will be saved and that they will be stopping a genuine evil force, also known as the Nazi Party, a party that the Democratic Party wouldn't disagree with too much. And, you know, this is, like I said, this is the 80th anniversary of this immense act of bravery. This immense miracle, really, of just people overcoming the odds. And you have to make this about Donald Trump. I get it, Donald Trump's great, but you don't have to make everything about him. Come on now. The D-Day invasion of Normandy, France, on June 6, 1944, is one of the most famous moments in U.S. military history. It was a turning point of World War II and the beginning of the liberation of Europe from the Nazi Germany control by American and Allied forces. The implication from the failed 2016 Democratic nominee is that her former rival Trump is a great threat to democracy, similar to Hitler's Third Reich. Which is a guy who saw world domination. He literally wanted to dominate the whole earth. He wanted to have all of the world in his control. And he wanted to kill anybody who opposed him. Like, this is what actually happened. And, you know, the guy who, believes in pro-life, he's the real Nazi? He's the threat to democracy, similar to Hitler? Come on, get out of here. It wasn't the first time Hillary Clinton has compared Trump to Hitler. In May 21st, posed on Twitter, or X, she called him Grifter Hitler. So not only is she alluding to Donald Trump being Hitler, she just flat out states it. And shared an Associated Press article about a video posted to Trump's Truth Social account referring a unified Reich. Which the word Reich isn't a bad thing. Okay? Using the word Reich does not automatically make you Hitler. Reich is its own thing. It has its own meaning. Okay? Reich is just another word for nation. Or an empire, or whatever, another, it's just any synonym of that. So when he says unified Reich, it's meaning unified nation. At least in the context of America. So among these hypothetical headlines, if he wins the November election, Trump's campaign said the video was created by a random account online by reposted by a staffer who clearly did not see the word. And everyone who's acting like Trump's some fascist dictator, as if he's like ready to gun down every single political opponent of his, and he just needs to be stopped at all costs. Newsflash for you: Trump was president before. I hope you know that. Trump has already been president, and one of his big campaign promises was that he was going to lock up Hillary Clinton. That was his big campaign promise. And you know what he didn't do? Lock her up. Now, quick quiz for you guys. Would a dictator, A, lock up a political opponent, or B, not lock up a political opponent? Would a dictator try to prison a political opponent of his in an election year, or B, not do that at all? A dictator would try to prison their political opponents. That's the answer to that question, in case you didn't know. And, you know, if Trump is actually a dictator, and I'm just blind, I don't see it, Trump just sucks at being a dictator. He really sucks at it, because he does not act like a dictator at all. He sucks at it, quite honestly. Hillary Clinton is a stone-cold loser who presided over the horrific Benghazi debacle and that led to death of Americans, Trump campaign spokesman Steve Chung told Fox News Digital. Nobody takes Hillary seriously because it's clear she is beclowning herself in order to stay relevant after President Trump crushed her in 2016. Trump defeated Clinton in the 2016 presidential election with 304 electoral college votes, narrowly winning several key battleground states, although Clinton won the popular vote by a 2% margin. Now, one thing I gotta say, back onto the lock her up thing. If Trump were to lock up Hillary Clinton or get her on trial, it would have actually been more justified than the Trump trial, because Hillary Clinton was not president. And especially being and you could argue that she was a presidential candidate, but she was a presidential candidate where a large portion of America didn't vote. So it's very clear that most of America didn't have an opinion either way. Or if they had an opinion, it probably could have been swayed because their opinion wasn't that strong on the subject. So anyways, that's going to be the end of my show. I hope you liked it. Give me your thoughts down below. And if you like content like this, subscribe. I make stuff like this daily. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Peace.